Welcome to NCIX Tech Tips. Today's episode is all about the Vesta Ai, creatively named because it is an NCIX Vesta PC, which all NCIX PCs are, and it is all Intel, hence the AI name. So we have decked this machine out with as many Intel components as we possibly can. You want an Intel-based machine that's built on Intel, cooled by Intel, and running off of Intel, then this is the one for you. Now, while there may be nothing Intel-themed about the half-XM, rugged, Cooler Master, gaming-looking case that we're using, the fact that we're using blue LED fans in order to make it more Intel-y is sort of what we were going for here. So let's start with the overall aesthetic of the case, the functionality. So at the front of the case, you find your typical stuff, you know, your start, your reset button. You've got two front USB 2, two front USB 3, front panel audio, so for your headphones and your microphone. We've also included an MDisc capable DVD writer. So what's cool about MDisc is that if you use MDisc media, you will never lose that data. It cannot degrade over time, even over thousands of years. So that's kind of neat. However, it is a little bit expensive, but it's definitely archival grade. You've got support for up to 3 5.25-inch devices in the front. You've got support for 2 easy load 3.5-inch drives, although we haven't configured those as being full by default because we never know what kind of environment you're going to be using the system in, and it's possible that you wouldn't want your drives to be able to be just pulled out of your system like that. You know, maybe it's being used in a public place. So blue LEDs. So we've got a blue LED fan in the front, blue LED fan on the side. The whole case is very easy to open up because it's just got a side panel handle on the side that'll just open it right up, totally toolless. In terms of rear I/O, you guys will probably have an overlay to see this, but you've got 4 USB 2.0 ports, 4 USB 3.0 ports, a PS2 keyboard mouse combo port, HDMI and DisplayPort out. So this is using a Z77 board, which means you can either use onboard video if you change the configuration, although I wouldn't recommend that, or you can use Lucid Virtue MVP in order to enhance your gaming experience with your dedicated graphics card and use the integrated graphics on the CPU for video transcoding, which is very effective. We've done a completely separate episode on NCIX Tech Tips about that. You got eSATA, FireWire, Gigabit Ethernet, optical audio out, as well as 7.1 audio support with 2 DVI ports and full support for DisplayPort and HDMI off the graphics card itself. Now let's get this baby opened up. So we're using that easy handle. Now, one thing to be careful of when you're opening up this system is there is a blue LED fan on the inside of the side panel. You're going to want to go ahead and unplug that fan header from the motherboard. If you're not too familiar with the internals of computers and you do want to open it up to check out the beautiful cable management, you're going to want to keep track of where that was plugged into and make sure you put it back when it's time to put the system away. So I'm just going to change the angle here slightly. There we go. And now we start to see all of the Intel goodness inside. Now, I'm not going to start with the CPU, which is what I normally do. I'm going to start with the SSD because an Intel SSD evidently makes me a speed demon. Yes, they're fast. So we're using Intel's fastest, highest performance SSD. They're 520 series. It's a 120 gig drive. And then we are using a 2 terabyte Western Digital Green drive for the storage of the system because 120 gigs isn't quite big enough for everything that you'd want to use the system for. Now, let's get to the gaming guts and goodness. We've got a 3570K inside here, which is pretty much the optimal CPU for gaming. A 3770K will give you some advantages in terms of video editing or 3D rendering, but if you don't need the performance you get from hyperthreading, which many games these days don't need yet, then a 3570K is going to deliver a ton of performance. It's also very easy to overclock on the Intel Z77 desktop board. It supports not only SLI, but also Crossfire, so you can choose whatever graphics card configuration you want. We felt the 560 Ti 448 core was a good balance for the price point we were aiming for with this system, but because you got a 3570K in there, it is fully capable of running with a lower end graphics card or a higher end one. The flexibility is up to you. We've also gone with Intel for the cooling. So this is their Intel, well, liquid cooler. It's cooled, so it's designed by Acetec, but you've got, you know, the awesome Intel looking branding on it. You've got the amazing looking Intel fan on there, and it happens to perform really well as well. It is basically equivalent to something like a Corsair H70. Uses a thick radiator, a good quality fan, and a good pump water block kit or unit. So you're not going to run into any difficulty in terms of keeping the CPU cool, even if you do decide to overclock. We're also using limited edition Patriot Intel Extreme Masters memory. So yeah, it's, you know, sort of, I guess it's just an Intel sticker on the side, but it is validated and certified to work with Intel systems, and it looks really cool and kind of fits in with the overall theme of the system. To go along with the half XM case, we've gone with a Silent Pro M2 850 watt power supply from Cooler Master. It's 80 plus silver, it's modular, and it makes the cable management in this case look absolutely amazing. So if you're looking for an all Intel machine that delivers all the right performance, this is pretty much the way to go, and there's a lot of customization that you can do with a system like this, such as adding a higher-end graphics card or more graphics cards, or even things like adding a 2x1 20mm radiator, or even a triple radiator if you're just going to build yourself something custom out of the XM case, and maybe base it on our suggestions for components. And I think we've pretty much covered everything about it pretty well. The one thing that I wanted to show you guys, because I thought it was kind of amusing, is I have a preview of the email newsletter that's going to go out about this system, and I couldn't help noticing that there's a link to Linus showcasing the Vesta A1, but I haven't done it yet. It's like videoception. Don't forget to subscribe to NCIX Tech Tips. What happens if I click on it? Do I disappear?